Welcome to Canada's Entrepreneur, where we talk to the entrepreneurs who are making it happen across Canada and deliver the news, trends, knowledge, and opinions from entrepreneurs and business influencers across the country.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Canada's Entrepreneur, the podcast where we shine a spotlight on the bold thinkers, builders, and purpose-driven leaders shaping our economy and our communities. I'm your host, Rebecca Higgs, coming to you from Halifax, Nova Scotia. I'm the founder of DIY Mom and Matriarch Productions, a creative entrepreneur and a renovator, and someone who is passionate about philanthropy. And that's why today's guest is someone whose career is one to be admired. Joanne Bath is the founder of Kittywake, a purpose-driven company rooted in community, creativity, and coastal storytelling. After more than 2 decades of leading major philanthropic organizations like the IWK Foundation and DMRF, Joanne is now channeling that experience into building something uniquely her own. She's helped raise millions for health research, launch powerful partnerships across the Maritimes, and continues to be a champion for thoughtful leadership, community impact, and women-led innovation. So welcome, Joanne, to the show. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So before we get too deep into Kittywake, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your journey and what led you here?
Yeah, I mean, how far back do we go? I grew up in small town Newfoundland, and that's really shaped everything from here. Really growing up on the ocean in an outport really had a profound impact on who I am. And having a mother who was very community driven and wanted her whole life to be centered around giving back really influenced me and my sister and how we give back. We give back in different ways in the community, but it really influenced who we are and led to me thinking I wanted to be a social worker, applying for doing a degree in social work, working in social work for 8 months, and then going, this is not for me. I applied for a job at a Boys and Girls Club where the title was Resource Development Coordinator. So I thought I'd be helping families find resources, but I was fundraising and I didn't even know people fundraised. I didn't even know it was a career. I read the book Fundraising for Dummies. And from there, just started fundraising and asking people for money. And over the years, from there, I went to the IWK. They had a much more sophisticated program and really threw me into a position where I was responsible to raise $6 million a year. I was managing 6 people at 25. And, I really didn't know what I was doing, but I did my best and I had amazing mentorship. They really invested in me from a professional development perspective, provided me paid coaching, but also internal mentorship. And then from there, I moved on to the Dalhousie Medical Research Foundation, where I was there for 10 years, helped them build their fundraising sophistication, eventually became CEO. So that's my background in traditional philanthropy. And then I left that role as CEO when the organization merged with another. And I took some time to really reflect and decide who I wanted to be next at 46 at the time. I sat back and said, if I'm going to work for 20 more years, what is it I want to do? Because I fell into that career. And now I wanted to be very purposeful about what I needed next to be happy and fulfilled.
So you were fundraising for 20 years before you started your own entrepreneur
I was 20 years, very traditional fundraising. And honestly, I thought I'd be there forever. I thought I'd be the CEO of this charity and then the CEO of a bigger charity and the CEO of a bigger charity. That was I had this idea in my head. I had this ladder in my head that I needed to climb. And, I had a lot of support along the way to get there. But then when that organization merged, I was very burnt out. I really loved the work we were doing and I was grieving the loss of that role. And so I took a year off to decide what I wanted to be. I invested in a coach who would challenge me, a coach who wasn't in philanthropy, wasn't in business. He was just a coach to help people find their future desire and future self. And I worked with him for a full year and we came up with a matrix of what needed to exist for me to be happy going forward. And I actually put it in an Excel spreadsheet. And every opportunity that came, I put into that spreadsheet and I rated it. And ultimately, starting my own business was the thing that really afforded me all of the things I wanted to achieve going forward.
Yeah. So, in terms of the fundraising work that you had been doing before, what was it
Mhm.
about your personality that was so successful in that? Is it like a natural salesman ability, or is it just like, how do you communicate the need that you have when you were going out there and looking for that $6 million?
Yeah. So it's there's very similar linings in every area of fundraising because there's a lot of different ways you can fundraise. There's annual giving, which is your direct mail piece. It's all about marketing. And then there's plan giving, which is about working with people to ask them to put you in their wills, which is very
Mm.
sensitive work. And
Hmm.
then there's major gifts, which could be like trying to align strategically with a corporate entity's corporate social responsibility policy, looking at what a foundation is trying to accomplish, or working with individuals, like high net worth individuals, to try and match what you're doing to what their desires are for change in society. So there are those, personality streams through all of that. So for me, I think what's really helped my success is I'm not scared to ask for help. I'll always be vulnerable and open and park my ego. That really has helped me in fundraising to learn, to keep learning and to grow.
Hmm.
Being genuine, having a sense of humor, and being able to connect with people. Like I'm a genuinely curious people. When I was in the dating scene, I couldn't wait to go on a date because I wanted to learn about that person. I wanted to know who they were. And also, I wasn't scared of rejection, which in fundraising, you have to be not scared of
Yeah.
rejection. There's a
Yeah.
lot of no's. There's different kinds of no's, as Bernard Ross would say. There's like, no, not now, no, not that much, no, not that little.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to read the no. So common sense is really important in philanthropy,
Mm.
and also strategy. A lot of people think philanthropy is like, making people really sad about something so that they open their wallet and give. But it's really about strategically finding people who want to accomplish something with an organization that's trying to accomplish that thing and
Mm.
trying to marry up and do matchmaking. That's really what it is. And if you approach it as transactional and trying to twist people's arms, it just doesn't have the same long-term growth opportunity. Like if I bring in a donor at $1,000 and I can grow them to $1 million gift if they have that capacity, that's a 10-year game, probably. Like,
Yeah.
it could be a 2-year game, but understanding that strategy and that long-term play. And the other thing I've done very differently in philanthropy is I've applied an entrepreneurial mindset. So I don't see charity as any different than any other business. You're selling a product. The
Yeah.
product might be social change or healthcare or research or housing or environmental change, but you are selling a product to someone who has money to invest in that product. And so
Mm.
I've always taken that entrepreneurial mindset to even how you grow the organization. So you still have to have good data, you have to have a good marketing and communications plan, you have to have a good sales team. It's very similar to any for-profit, with the slant being you're selling hope and emotion
Yeah.
and connection. So it's a different product you're selling, but you still have to know what your product is.
Yeah, that's really interesting because you were talking about in philanthropy and in this fundraising sort of initiative, you have to be okay with the no's and the rejection.
Mhm,
So, do you think
mhm.
that that prepared you to be an entrepreneur, or
Yes.
like, is there something else that drove you to be an entrepreneur that maybe in your personality you were naturally ready to be an entrepreneur, even though you mentioned that your family, no one in your family
Mhm.
had been entrepreneurs before
Yeah.
you. So could you tell me a little bit more about how you
Mhm.
made that leap to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah. It was terrifying. It would have been easier just to take another job in another organization and get a good pension and,
Hmm.
do that for the next 20 years. But I was feeling really drawn to entrepreneurship. I just wanted to create something that was my own. And over that year I was off, I toyed with a bunch of ideas. I thought, well, I could travel the world and bring back products from amazing female artisans around the world and then sell it here. And so
Yeah.
I tested that for a couple of weeks and I didn't like it. And then I tested something else. And so what I was doing though was giving away free fundraising advice. People were calling me and asking me for free advice. I was sitting on boards. And in fundraising, that is something we do. If someone from another organization calls me that's technically a competitor and they want a copy of a policy or they want to know how I did such and such event or get advice on who might care about something, we give away advice for free in fundraising all the time to our colleagues. We just shore up the industry and support each other. So transitioning to asking people to pay for that was a big mindset shift for me.
Mm.
Because I've spent 20 years in the industry. I've had really good support and mentorship from people who came before me. So then transitioning to asking people to pay for my expertise was a pretty big mind shift for me.
Yeah.
But the leap really came when I was just, looking around and saying, what are the opportunities in front of me? What should I do next? I had the gift of a year off between my last job and when I launched the business. So I had a lot of time to reflect on what I wanted. And I knew that I wanted to add value to the world, make the world better, not worse, in what I did next. I knew I wanted it to be fun. Like that was important to me, that I wake up and go, ooh, this is fun. Let's go do this. I wanted to work with people that I look forward to seeing every day, which meant, when you think about clients, choosing who you're getting to work with, who's really
Yeah.
trying to do good in the world. I wanted to make some money. And I also wanted it to be flexible so I could work when I wanted, which is not really how it turns out when you're an entrepreneur, because you are working 12-hour days and weekends and holidays.
Yeah.
But you get to choose where you work from, which I really love. So the leap in was it was scary because even though I was I was running a business. I mean, the Dalhousie Medical Research Foundation, we were generating 8.5 million a year in revenue from philanthropic revenue, and we had a $90 million investment pool that I was managing with a team and a board. So it was a big business. But just the mind shift of saying, well, I'm going to start a business. I didn't even know how. I didn't know how to incorporate a business. I didn't know, like, how do you even legally do that? As I said, no one in my family had ever started a business. And so I didn't even know who to call. So what I did was I leaned into people who really loved me and cared for me, who had started businesses. And I just went to them very vulnerably and said, I think I want to do this, but I have no idea what I'm doing. Can you tell me where to start? And when you ask and you're vulnerable, people will tell you. They will lend you a hand and they will give you referrals. And that's where I started.
So can you tell the listener what Kittiwake does?
Yeah. So Kittiwake is a philanthropic consulting firm. We're primarily working with charities, but we do have a couple of like medical research companies in our pool, or medical research programs, because I've worked in medical research for 10 years. I built up a really strong expertise in that space in terms of how to generate revenue to fund research. But Kittiwake primarily is in the philanthropic space. We work with charities who, have a really great mission, and in four major categories. So the first is revenue growth. So they might want to, reduce their reliance on government funding and pull in philanthropy, whether that be major gifts or direct mail or planned giving. We also help them build their strategy for the organization. So help them say, if we're level setting, what's the next 5 years look like for us? What are all the things we need to do to succeed? And that can include everything from how do we build our board to how do we build our database. And then we also do talent development. So we do recruitment in philanthropy. We do coaching and workshops and training, which I love doing training and workshops and just giving people what I've learned and what I've done wrong or what I've done well in my philanthropic career. And then finally, we do donor communications. So a lot of organizations struggle with how to communicate to donors, how to report back, how to attract donors to their cause. So we do a whole bunch of work in donor communications as well. And I've been in this business for about a year. It really started to take off this past September. And then I rebranded. So originally we had a different name and I rebranded to Kittiwake. And a kittiwake is a bird that I grew up hearing outside my bedroom window as a kid. And it really grounds me and keeps me humble and focused on who I am personally. But also, a kittiwake is a bird that lives between the intersection of blue sky and rough sea. And that's right where charities are. Charities are trying to blue sky every day. Let's save the world.
Yeah.
Let's cure cancer. Let's save this forest. Let's, put this beautiful art out into the world. And they're blue skying all the time, but they face these rough seas of economic turmoil, boards that don't want them to spend to make money, a world that thinks we shouldn't pay fundraisers well. And then the other thing is charities also live like kittiwakes in a colony. I mean, we're all in this together, whether that colony is your organization with your board and your, the people you serve, or whether it's the philanthropic world, we're all in it together. And kittiwakes live on the edge of a cliff in a little, they nest on the edge of a cliff in a little nest with winds all around them. And so they have to be resilient, which is one of our values. They have to be adaptable and they have to be connective. And charities do that. They are adapting all the time. And we saw that, for example, during the pandemic, the charities that did really well adapted their stories, they adapted their messaging, their services they were providing. And so that's really what Kitty Wake is all about. We really want to show up for our clients in the same way we show up for, in the philanthropic industry for our donors. We want to be transparent with our donors. We want them to feel like they're the only donor and they're getting all of our attention and focus. Yeah. We want our clients to know that it's the same. We want them to feel very valued. We want to be transparent and focused with them. And their win is our win and their loss is our loss. And I truly feel it when a client gets a no from a donor. Like, I feel that pain with them, and then help them adapt and move forward. So we want to apply those same philanthropic values to our client work.
So what is the business model for Kitty Wake? You guys are consulting, or you're coaching, or
Yep.
How does this all work?
Well, we're doing all of that. We're consulting, we're coaching, we're doing recruitment. So every model looks a little different. But for example, we work with a number of hospital foundations across Canada. And those engagements really focus on assessing their annual giving program, which is like the core of how customers come into their organization, and helping them audit their data and understand where they're winning, where they're losing, where the opportunities exist in their, like, from a retention perspective or an acquisition perspective. And then we help them build a 12-month or up to a 3-year plan for how they're going to acquire new donors and how they're going to retain them. So that's one model. So they pay us to come in and do the data audit, to assess, and then use all of our experience to build a new plan. But then on the other hand, we're working with a couple of clients on major gifts. So we're working with a Native Friendship Center on a beautiful new center here in Halifax. That's going to be just a heartbeat of the community for urban Indigenous people and for settlers. So we're working with them on teaching them how to fundraise, and teaching them how to build their pipeline and project manage so they can get out and ask for gifts and raise the money they need. Mount St. Vincent, we've just started working with them on their campaign as well, and they're going to be building a new child study center. So that one's really interesting. But again, we're going to help them recruit volunteers and manage their pipeline and tell their story really effectively. And then we have clients who we're recruiting their executive director, or we're coaching their CEO, or we're coaching their internal talent on how to go out and close gifts. So that's, every model is different. Our website does list all of our services, but really we are trying to show up for the client and lend them additional capacity, and then give them the capacity to do it after we leave. Because I want to be the type of consultant that hands you the capacity, teaches you how to do it, then you might not need us for that. You might need us for something else, but I don't want to continually I don't want to build a relationship with clients where they continually need us to show up. I want them to be able to do it on their own and really grow from what we teach them.
Help them become self-sustaining in terms
Absolutely.
of reaching out and getting that fundraising. So how do you protect your energy and your heart in all of this? Because I imagine that people that are in philanthropic positions like yourself, or other folks that are going out asking for money, like, there must be a lot of bleeding hearts out there, because I'm sure they got into this industry because they cared. So you probably have a lot of deep feelers that you're coaching or working with. So what do you do to protect your energy, and like, what's the advice that you give to the folks that you're coaching in order to protect their spirit and their soul throughout this process?
Well, that's really hard. That's it. Because when you get into this industry, you care about what you're doing. You care about, like, if you go to work for an organization that's doing mental health work in children to give children better access to care, and you're having a hard time raising money for that, that hurts, right? And if you have to lay off parts of your team, or hesitate on growing a new program, say for, in Alzheimer's care, it does hurt. But the best advice that I give to charities is build your plan. Have a plan that's like a 5-year strategic plan. As boring as that sounds, you have to know what your 5 years look like. You have to know what resources you need to accomplish that and get really clear. And then you have to get it and do the work in a way that is actually very, you apply a lot of rigor to it. It doesn't happen by happenstance. You have to run it like every other business. And if you run it that way, you will have much more success. There will be no's. There will be hard times. But you just have to keep pushing forward and treating your organization like a business while still feeling it. I mean, we get to meet amazing people. When you look at an organization like We Are Young, they're an organization here in Atlantic Canada that serves Atlantic and Ontario, and they grant wishes to seniors. And the whole intent of their organization is to reduce ageism in the world and help us see that as we age, we're still worth a lot. we still mean a lot to society, and we can still have a great life while reducing social isolation and helping people see that you can still go and do things and live a life as you age and that we're still worth something. That's hard work. Almost everybody that they work with will pass away at some point, so they see a lot of loss. And like when I was at the IWK, there was a lot of pain. We got to know those families so well, those children who are going through cancer treatment. We get to know those families so well and we feel their pain with us. But honestly, it's what drives you to do more. It's what drives you to be better. It's what drives you to look for more in the world. And there's a lot of people think of charity as just people doing work over there. But when you look at the entire world and the people in the world who are trying to make positive change, charities have to exist to do that. They were created to do that. They were created to be catalysts for change. And so change is not easy. And so I think anybody who enters this world knows it, or they learn it really quickly, that it's not an easy world we're in, but you just have to find the guts and determination to keep moving.
Yeah. So, what have some of the greatest challenges that you've faced when launching your own business, and how did you handle that?
Yeah. So I had, I think, the benefit of a bit of a soft launch. So I first joined another firm. They invited me to join. We did that for a few months and it wasn't working. The story of how all of our talents came together wasn't quite melding. So I left that firm, started another with one of my very good friends. And about 3 months in, he was like, consulting's not for me. It's not working. So I was like, okay, I'll do it on my own. So it helped that I had like people to learn from and then a partner to do it with. And then I jumped on my own. So that was nice. But it was also a challenge because, once that happened, I was like, "Oh, maybe I'm not built for this. Maybe I'm the problem. maybe it's me, and maybe I don't really know what I'm doing, and I think I'm better than I am." And my husband and I sat down, and I was having this discussion with him, and he said, "No, you can do this. Like, I don't even want to talk about it. You can do it. Think about what's holding you back." And really, when I
It
sat
sounds like
back,
you
I
were
thought,
having a little imposter syndrome going on there. Is that what
a
was
hundred
happening?
percent, a
Yeah.
100% I was like, I just didn't even know where to go from there, especially after my partner, the two of us were really close. And once he left, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this by myself. I
Right.
don't know if I have the energy. Um, but then I hired a coach and I kind of said to myself, you've got to coach your whole career. Like at the IWK, when I started there, I had a coach who was a Buddhist who helped me focus on mindfulness in business.
Mm.
And then I had a coach as CEO at Dell Medical Research Foundation who helped me learn how to manage my board and how to, step into that big leadership role in the organization. And then I kind of thought, well, maybe I need a business coach. So I did. I hired Dave Reynolds from Ruminate, and he really helped me stop thinking about getting a couple contracts and maybe doing some stuff to building something much bigger, to thinking much bigger about what this could be. And not only did he kind of pump my tires and say, you're an expert in this field, you have something unique you can bring to the world, but also he just helped me when I have a question like, I don't know how to do this, Dave, and I don't know who else to ask. He can help me navigate, think it through.
Mm.
My pricing was really low. And he's like, why are you pricing so low? You'll never run a business on that pricing model. And he said, until you try and push the limit, you don't know what people will pay for your service, but people are calling you and asking for your help. So you need to build a pricing model that works in order to sustain and grow your business. And one of the greatest things he did at that time was he said, you need to go away and build your AAA list. And what he meant by that was just sit down, pen to paper, and write a list of all the people who care about you, believe in you, and want you to succeed, who will give you referrals, and just start meeting with them. And as a fundraiser, that's the easiest thing in the world, reaching out and asking for a meeting. And I'm not scared to say to people, I need referrals. Will you help me build this? And so as soon as I started doing that, it just started to roll. There were a couple of people especially, who really believed in me and lent me their network, which is exactly what you do in fundraising. The way most people are successful in major gift fundraising is you go to a donor who already loves you and gives to you, and you say, will you help me go to 3 more people who love this organization, who might love this organization, lend us your reputational bank account. And when you do that, the network's open. And so I asked people to lend me their reputational bank account, and they did. And that really started to snowball and grow from there.
Hmm. I remember my dad telling me that you only get so many favors in this lifetime and you have to be really careful with how many
Hmm.
favors you ask from people. Do you find that, or do you have like an endless well of favors that are owed to you from the 20 years that you worked in this industry?
Yeah, I don't know if anything's owed to me, but I definitely have built really goodwill with people. I genuinely approach life with how can I build this relationship and support this person, as opposed to what can I get out of this relationship.
Yeah.
I've always been a relationship first. How can I help other people? And so I think people know that I am genuine in my want to help these charities succeed.
Yeah.
And they've seen the value of my work. They've been with me. Like Janet McMillan, who owned National PR, is one of my greatest cheerleaders and champions. And I've learned so much from Janet about managing stress and grace and how to handle relationships. And she was the first person I went to and said, Janet, I think I'm going to do this. What do you think? And she's like, absolutely. We're going to do this. I'm going to help you. So we meet regularly. She gives me advice. And I don't feel like anyone feels like they owe it to me. They're just really willing because I love spending time with them and they enjoy spending time with me. And it's fun. Like we just make it fun to build something.
Yeah.
Um, but early on, I definitely went to a few people who I thought would be supportive. And their advice was, yeah, don't bother. I don't think this is really for you. And so that was stuck in my head for a while because there were people I really respected. And I had to think, well, do I value that? And should I listen to that or should I just keep pushing? And I just kept pushing. It was hard, but I did.
Yeah, I had the same experience too, where kind of people were telling me that's not a good idea, and then you think if you had listened to that
Yeah.
instead of listening to your gut,
Yeah.
then where would you be today? So
Exactly. Yeah.
maybe you could touch on that. Like, what are some of the things that you've had to do, the internal work that you've had to do to get yourself to this
Mhm.
place? Because it sounds like you had to look internally in terms
Yeah.
of, overcoming the imposter
Hmm.
syndrome.
Yeah.
Are there other ways that you have sort of taken a look inside of you that have
Hmm.
helped you become the entrepreneur you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the Dell Medical Research Foundation, I was the CEO there for 3 years, and then they merged with another organization. And while it was very good for, the organization that took us over, um, it was hard on my head to think, "Ooh, I was the CEO when that happened. Did I fail? What did I do wrong?" And I also, as I said, I was really tired when that merger happened.
Mm,
It was a lot of work. We had to transition a lot of assets. And so I decided I was going to take a full year off, a midlife gap. And it was, oh, the best thing I've ever done. If anybody gets a chance to do that, do it. Take the time, go enjoy it. Weirdly, my husband left his job at the same time and he took a year. So we took a year together, which was such a beautiful gift. We traveled. I woke up every morning, read a book, went for a walk with the dog, made a healthy meal. I just lived a year of life. And so starting a business was really hard on the head because I thought, well, I just want to keep doing that. I just want to like enjoy my life. I don't know if I want to work that hard anymore. So I had to
hmm
build up to this mindset of wanting to work hard again because I've always been a hard worker, a grinder. I've given everything to the organizations that I support and the people that I love. So I had to shift my mindset to getting back to being, a grinder and working hard. But one of the things that's happened is I've gone so far the other way. I had that beautiful year of relaxation and enjoyment and travel, and now I'm working, 12-hour days, and on a weekend it's all I can think about because I love what I do. So I'm thinking about
Yeah.
it all the time, and we're supporting a lot of different charities doing a lot of different things. So I'm constantly thinking about their causes and what we can do and how we can build it. And so I've got to come back. I'm working right now on coming back to balance because
Yeah.
I'm giving too much to the
hmm
business because I love it. I'm energized by it. It's so fun. We're growing. I've added an employee in February. We've got 6 subcontractors we work with fractionally. We're hiring 3 more positions coming up. So I see so much opportunity in this business, both for Kitty but also for our clients. So it's been that big shift of going from being really chill to working really hard. And then you're right, like the imposter syndrome is real. And I think women particularly struggle in what used to be, maybe still is, a male dominated world of starting businesses. And we think, oh, can I do it? Can it? I go back to being this little girl from Lassie, where I grew up. It's a little town in Outport, Newfoundland. Um, and I go back to being that little girl. I'm like, can this little girl from Lassie really start a business and run it? Like, this is crazy. And so I did have a therapist at one point who said, when you walk into a meeting, tell the little girl to get behind you and that you have this.
Yeah. That's like the
And
shadow
sometimes
work.
shadow work so good. And so sometimes I walk into a meeting and I immediately start to sweat. I'm like overwhelmed and I'm like, what am I doing in this meeting with this person? But then I tell that little girl to get behind me, and immediately I feel a sense of confidence and
Mm.
protection. And so, not only have I done a lot of work with a coach, but therapy is still so important to me, as we grow as human beings. And also, the other thing that's really helped me shift to entrepreneurship is just I have a growth mindset. I always have known I'm not perfect. I can always be better. And it's
Mhm.
just deciding what you want to focus on at that point in time because there's so many aspects of ourselves that can grow and be better.
So when you had to add new employees to your company,
Hmm.
was that scary? Like, are you now thinking, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, I have to carry somebody else's salary and make
Hmm.
enough money because or how do
Yeah.
you, yeah, how did you make that leap? And are
Yeah.
you seeing the benefits from it already, or
Yes.
is it like
Yes.
so you can kind of move forward, or are you feeling like the intimidation factor of having to
Mm.
bring in that income for other folks?
Yeah, in January, I was looking at the pipeline and submitting RFPs and proposals, and I could see that if I closed these three, I wouldn't have the capacity to do it. But if
Right.
I only closed one of them, I wouldn't have the money to pay the person. So I just went for it. I just said, you know what? I won't take pay. I'll pay that person, and I'll pay them from that contract, and I can afford them for a year. So I just did math. I did the math, and I went, I
Mhm.
can afford to pay one person. And I really took my approach to hiring has always been hire slow, make sure you have the right person. And for me, in all of my companies, it's been important that, like in charitable world, and now it's been important that that person really has my value set,
Mm.
that they're going to approach clients with the same carefulness and trust and transparency that I am. I want, I always want to hire people who are hard workers and care as much as I do about the business. But I like hiring people who are different than me, have a different mindset, have different skills, different experiences, and are going to teach me something as I teach them. So that's
Mm.
always been my approach. So the first hire for me, her name is Mackenzie Derbyshire. I've known Mackenzie for a long time. She was at Hospice Halifax doing really amazing work there to fundraise. And so I brought her in as our strategic growth director. And she is just working so hard. She loves what she does. She says, I feel like I'm in a fake job because it's so fun. And
Aw,
that's
that's
what I
so
want.
cute.
That's what I want my employees to feel that like
Yeah.
they're in a fake job because it's fun and we get to do cool things. And I think, a lot of people that I worked with at the Dell Medical Research Foundation, I'm still very close with. Many of them came to our brand launch a few weeks ago. And while I understand, as a leader, you are managing people and you have to really focus on being that leader, I also believe you just have to be a human and you have to make real connection with people and actually care about them and their lives. So it was terrifying to be responsible for someone else's life. And, Mackenzie was leaving a job she'd been in for quite a while. She had a lot of benefits there, and she was coming to start with a startup that was just figuring it out.
Mm.
So I sat down with her and said, I'd love for you to come work with me. However, you have to know there's a risk here. Like this is brand new. We've only been in business like 6 months or, a little bit longer. And she was down for it. She was ready. So I knew she was the right person. And now we've built a pretty great book of business, and we need to hire a campaign manager to work with us on the mount. And for that one, I won the contract before I hired. So I will hire someone full time, but I'll have another contract by the time that 2-year contract's up. And I'm hiring a customer service person so that we can really lean into making sure customers have a superb, delighted experience with us. But it is like it's scary to have someone else's life in your hands. It was easier
Yeah.
at DMRF because I had an operational budget. I didn't have to fundraise to pay people. We had an endowment. I didn't have to stay up at night and worry if I could pay people. I'm not worried about that right now because that first contract was the leap, and now Mackenzie manages clients. She helps me with business development, and she does marketing. So she's really helped me blow the business up, and I'm
Mm.
really grateful for her.
So when you hire, is it more important for you to find somebody that has experience or somebody that has the right attitude that you can teach how you want to do
Mhm.
your business?
It has to be a little of both. But I'd prefer to hire someone with the right attitude and the upside.
Hmm.
because I can teach them. It depends on the project. Like some projects, they have to be pretty well baked to go in and do the work. Because they might be dealing with the president of a university, or you've got to have a certain level of ability to go in and be able to do that. But with Mackenzie, she'd never worked in the for-profit world, so there is a lot of learning for her about that. But she's open and she's just a sponge and she wants to learn. And so I want people who are open to learning. They don't think they know it all, and they can help grow this business alongside me.
So, a couple of the takeaways that I have gathered from this conversation already are that you mentioned, hiring a coach. You mentioned
100%.
hiring people slowly to work for your
hmm
team, taking your time. You also mentioned having a growth mindset. Um,
hmm
is there any other key points or advice that you would give folks that are looking to become entrepreneurs or start their own business that we haven't touched on yet?
Yeah, no, all of those things are exactly what I wanted to touch on today. And I think the other thing is lean into your network. Don't be scared to ask
Mm.
people for help.
Right. The
Like
triple A's
sometimes
you said, right?
the triple A's, yeah. And um, I had moments where I was like, oh, I don't want to burden these busy people to help me.
Yeah.
Like, why would I can't do that to them? But as soon as I asked them, they're so hungry and willing to be there for me and to help me. And so I would just say, don't be scared to look stupid. Don't be scared to look
Hmm.
like inexperienced. Nobody really knows what they're doing until they learn what they're doing. And that has been a big lesson for me. Even as I'm working with very senior leaders, they'll look at me and say, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, well, I do. I know fundraising. I can tell you that. I can teach you that,
Hmm.
and you can go do it. So I think the other point is don't be scared to ask for help. I've asked for help my whole career, and it's really gotten me far. So I would say that for most entrepreneurs, seek help. You're not in it alone. I know there's people talk about this loneliness epidemic in entrepreneurship, but it doesn't have to be that way. Just lean into other people and let them help you.
You seem to enjoy going to, networking events
hmm
and meeting other
I do.
entrepreneurs and women. Is that something that you've always enjoyed doing, or is that something
Yeah.
you've had to kind of become better at doing?
I've always enjoyed it. I mean, in fundraising, we're always networking, even if it's like at your board meeting or, at a boring reception or, you know, you have to do it. You have to be out there. We went to an event last night that I wasn't sure would be like strong networking for us at a client's office. We went because we love the client. It's a Dartmouth General Hospital Foundation. They're an amazing group of people doing really great work. And the chamber was hosting an after hours networking event there. So we went for that. And I wasn't sure it'd be the right crowd for our business, but it so was. There were so many great people in the room. And people who were genuinely curious about what the Dartmouth General is doing. So they were philanthropically mindset already.
Hmm.
But yeah, I enjoy social. I did much more before the pandemic. I became a bit more introverted through the pandemic. So it is a
Yeah.
little harder for me to push myself and get out and network. But the hardest part is deciding which thing to go to because there are so many different things happening. This is an event city. So it's deciding where you want to spend your energy and money. That's
Yeah.
the hardest part.
Do you have a favorite icebreaker when you're networking or meeting somebody for the first time?
In fundraising and in social work, we're taught to ask questions
Yeah.
and to be quiet and learn from other people. I just did a
Mm.
LinkedIn post on this, but we so often go in and we go hard about ourselves and what we're doing and what our business is that it's much better. People remember what they say more than what you say. So if you can go in and say, tell me about yourself, tell me, even in philanthropy, especially with a donor, you go in and say, tell me why you care about this cause, or tell me about a cause you really care about. People will tell you so much about themselves. And so I just ask people about themselves, who they are, what they believe in, what they find fun, as opposed to what do you do for work? It's like, what do you do for fun? Like, what's
Yeah.
your day to day look like? And people light up, and it makes the conversation much less stressed. Like it's more fun when you're just engaging and getting to know another human being. So
Hmm.
that's kind of my icebreaker. I
I'm sure
just go in
people
and
probably don't like to feel like there's an ulterior motive when you're talking to them either, right? So
no,
if you're just trying to
no,
connect with people on a let's get to know each other, what do we have in common,
yeah, totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you see Kitty Wake 5 years from now?
I don't know. We're growing right now. Like I said, we have there's two of us. There's going to be four of us soon, and then six subcontractors who work fractionally. So it's a pretty big team of people. We're right now we're serving clients nationally. We have clients out in Vancouver, in Ontario, and all over Atlantic, including Newfoundland, Newfoundland and mostly Nova Scotia. So I see us continuing to grow. I see us narrowing in on our business offerings. So right now we offer a whole bunch. I see us maybe narrowing a little bit, become more specialized. But I want to continue as we grow. I see us becoming a bigger business. But I want us to keep the value of connection. Like connection with our clients is so important to me. And I don't ever want a client to feel like they're just in a cookie cutter situation where we're just doing what we've done for everybody else. I want them to feel very customized and connected with us. And so we'll be continuing that. But I think we'll grow more clients across Canada. We're looking at Europe. I think that's a little ways out. But we'll continue to grow inside of Canada and grow our team and deepen our expertise. We want to be doing more workshops. I want to be doing more training. So there is some training planning that's happening that I think will help the philanthropic world significantly.
So are most of your clients coming to you by word of mouth, or if somebody that is hearing this podcast wants to hire you for their philanthropic work, how would they reach out to you, or what's the best way to get hold of you?
They can just reach out to me directly. Kittywake.co.com is our website. We're on LinkedIn as well as Kittywake. They can just reach out to me and have a conversation. I'm the person. I want to be connected to every client. I want to deeply understand what they're doing and what they're trying to accomplish. And sometimes clients will come and think they need one thing and I need a different thing. So I want to be able to do, I spend a lot of time in discovery, really understanding who they are, where they want to go. So they would just reach out to me. Most of our clients are coming from referrals or from word of mouth. Like someone says, "Oh, I work with these people. You should." Most is coming from that. We don't do a ton of marketing at this point. We are going to start doing that soon. But yeah, mostly it's word of mouth, and we'd love to have more clients all across Canada in all of those spaces that I've talked about.
Okay, well, before we end this conversation and our time together on the podcast, I want to ask you 5 rapid fire questions, if you're game for it.
I'm game.
Okay, so my first question is, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing instead?
I'd be retired and traveling the world.
So I remember you saying one night when we were hanging out that you would have been a surgeon or some kind of doctor, that you love blood and guts, but not that.
No, I thought that, but I don't really like to stay up at night.
Okay. You don't want to do those all-nighters.
I'm doing those night shifts, so.
Okay. What book are you currently reading or podcast you're loving right now? Any recommendations?
I'm really loving the Amy Poehler podcast. It has nothing to do with entrepreneurship. The very first episode, she said, "I'm not here to help you grow. I just want to have a hang." And when I've had a really busy day and I needed, I just need a laugh and I just need to shut down from work. I don't want to be listening to business podcasts and reading business books every night. So I really like, when I'm driving in my car, I listen to something that's a bit more light, a bit more interesting. There are a few books we're reading right now. One is called Train Your Board. So I want to deepen my expertise in training. So I'm reading that book right now. And there's another one called Excellence in Fundraising that's really great for organizations to pick up. It's a textbook, so be prepared. But right now I'm really I'm working so much that I'm trying to take in things that aren't work.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. When life is stressful and work is busy, I need to watch comedies and listen to comedies. I can't go and stress myself out about what's happening in the world any further.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I'm a night owl naturally, but I'm trying to force myself into being a morning person.
Do you have a morning routine?
I'm working on a new morning routine, up at 6. I haven't mastered workouts in the morning. I like working out after work. I have more energy and excitement for it. But when I would really do the best work is like midnight. I can write. That's when I did all my studying in university, was like midnight to 2 a.m.
Oh, wow.
So definitely night owl, but I value my sleep, especially as a 47-year-old woman. I need that 8 hours so that I feel really fresh the next day. So even though I'm a night owl, I love sleeping.
I'm with you. So if you had to pick one word to describe yourself, what would it be and why?
Oof. I don't know if I can pick one. I'm definitely conscientious. It's, I think a lot about the work I'm doing with clients and if it's enough. Am I doing enough? Are they getting enough value? Conscientious would probably be what most people would say about me. I think that's probably the best one.
And my last question actually might be kind of the answer of this one that you just gave me, because I was going to ask you what's keeping you up at night these days.
That's
If you're
keeping me up.
conscientious, then you're probably thinking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, I'm an under promiser and over deliverer. I wouldn't say sandbagger. But I promise clients really good work, and I want to do better than I've promised. I always want to give them great value, because especially in the charitable world, they're spending really precious dollars to hire me. And so I want to just, blow it up for them and do really great work. And so that's what keeps me up at night. I'll wake up at 3 a.m. and go, oh, wow, I really should get on that. I really should do that better. Because I have a growth mindset, I just always want to be better, and I always want to offer high value to clients.
Do you keep a little notepad beside the bed at night so you can write
I
things
don't.
down?
Everybody tells me to do that. I probably should, but I just think if I turn on the light and start writing, I'm up forever, and my dogs are up, and
Yeah.
So everybody tells me to do that. I may give it a try.
I can write in the dark, I think, when I'm thinking of something, just to get it off my mind, because otherwise I'm going to
Yes,
lay there and keep repeating it in my
me
head so I
too.
don't forget it by the morning. Anyway.
Me too. I do exactly that.
Well, Joanne, I just want to thank you so much for being here today. Your story is such a great reminder that entrepreneurship isn't just about starting a business. It's about leading with intention, creating impact, and staying connected with what really matters. So for everyone listening, if you want to learn more about Kittiwake, we'll drop the links in the show notes so you can follow along with Joanne's work and connect with her. I'm Rebecca Higgs, and this has been Canada's Entrepreneur, where you meet the founders driving Canada's future. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter at canadasentrepreneur.com and hit follow on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, or wherever you are listening. Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Joanne.
Where we talk to the entrepreneurs who are making it happen across Canada and deliver the news, trends, knowledge, and opinions from entrepreneurs and business influencers across the country.